What's up guys, it's your boy Rabnut and welcome back to another Minecraft video. Today we're going to be going over 5 house ideas for your Minecraft 1.18 caves. So on the screen right now we've got our 5 examples and there are a lot of really interesting ones that I'm going to show you today. So as you can see right now we have a yellow sort of golden orb berry sort of base. We have a steampunk house hanging from the ceiling. We have this evil looking castle. We have a stalactite base, and we have this dark looking boat. Well, then let's get right into it. Right then guys, so for our first build idea, we have this sort of steampunk cave house. So it's hanging from the ceiling from these chains. I think that's a pretty cool detail. It could have, I at first tried for, instead of fences I had cobblestone walls, but I found that blended in too much with the ceiling, so you'll probably want to use something similar to this. Other than that, it is quite light, so it would probably work better above ground, but I think it's got some really cool details. So having a closer look, we can see for the roof, it's got an outline of dark oak stairs, but instead of just having this outline end and sort of just have stairs going along here, we've got trapdoors underneath to sort of hold it up, and I think this is a pretty cool detail. It probably works better with dark oak slabs, you can see it a bit easier, but I think that this looks really cool. Our other details are just sort of like lots of things just hanging off of this, so this works pretty well. So we've got this sort of dormer thing coming off of the side here, as well as a tower in the middle, and this just makes it look like it's really like struggling to hang on, and they've tried to pack as much into it as possible. And this works really well for a build like this, because obviously you want to be as far off of the ground as possible but still have as much fare as possible. So we've got a balcony, again the tower, and we've got this. It would probably work better in a larger space because you can put it further away from the ceiling. So as you can see, the tower is touching the ceiling, but obviously it looks pretty cool. So we've also got some other, minor details. So we've just got some birch planks and stripped birch woods just mixed into the walls. Stripped dark oak wood, which has recently got a texture change, so it's a little bit more accurate to the actual wood. As the sort of pillars, we've got birch leaves, and whenever you have a build, just add greenery and leaves to it. It really makes it stand out and just like pop out a bit more. And we've got trapdoors as a sort of railing. As far as the interior is concerned, it's really small. If you were going to actually make this as your actual base, you want it to be a lot bigger. But it's still kind of nice. You could fit a little bit of stuff in here. But a sort of major detail of it is this windmill sort of propeller at the bottom. So this doesn't really make much sense in this context. Obviously, it's just weighing it down more. But this works really well if you're trying to make it look like it's standing up. And this is a fairly simple design for a propeller. Obviously, you kind of need to be careful with the shapes you're using because of some symbols. But a shape like this should work fine and looks really good. For our number 2 spot, we have these sort of deep slate pillar, like octagon sort of things. I'm going to be honest, I'm not particularly proud of this build. I think it's pretty cool and I think it has some good ideas, but overall it's not a hugely impressive build. So obviously the main theme going on here is that it's sort of connected to the sort of pillars that you can find around the new caves, and I think these pillars are absolutely like incredible. Like they're so cool, and if you have like a larger cave, this is quite compact, but if we can find a larger one, if you can find a larger cave, you can put a lot of these together and sort of connect them up in a kind of like treehouse style thing. But instead of being a treehouse, it's sort of like something like this, sort of connected to all of those pillars and creating a really nice sort of connected structure. I think that will be really cool, but this is just some ideas. So obviously this is a fairly simple build, so it's got just deep slate stairs and glass, and the deep slate stairs sort of face upwards towards the glass, and then they with the sort of like larger face at for glass, and then with a polished deep slate slab on top of it. And I think this is it really works well if you want to add a little bit more detail, as it just creates a little bit of a inner bit that makes it look a lot more interesting. And we've also got these white stripes going through the build that just add a little bit of a futuristic feel to it. For the glass, it's pretty cool. So as you can see, for these corners, we want to make it look like so they're as diagonal as possible. And instead of just using full blocks, we can use the glass panes in between them, and that just makes it look a little bit more diagonal. This is a really cool thing, and sort of as good as we can get to sideways stairs, but we're never going to get glass stairs anyway. And as you can see, they're all connected to the pillars very nicely, so this looks very industrial. And as we can see, they're attached very industrially. This sort of stair and slab sort of incline and decline just makes it look like it's very structural and has a lot of sort of support bases on top in the build, so it looks a lot more powerful. And obviously it's made out of lots of stony blocks, and if you're inside here you could view sort of everything. So, you know, not my favourite build, but there's a lot of good stuff you can take from this. For our third build, we have this sort of glowberry sphere type of build. This is, again, kind of one that I'm not entirely sure about. I think it's a pretty cool idea, and I think it fits really well into this because it just looks like a giant sort of glowberry. But, you know, I'm not convinced. It would probably work better in sort of another context. But I think this is a really nice build and a really nice idea. So obviously it's a sphere. It's the size where you could put a villager farm inside of it. But if you have a look, there isn't really that much room. Obviously, in my case, I don't really know what to put inside of it, so I just put in a bunch of these moss blocks with some floating candles, and I think it looks really cool, but is obviously a little bit lackluster and just kind of an example. As you can see, it's got this outline of the spruce wood, and I think this really makes it look really cool and interesting, and it sort of gives it a really cool brown outline that adds a little bit of that really nice warmer colour into the build, even though it's quite warm already. And to make this sort of colour, so as you can see, it is sort of like a orangey yellow, and to do this I had orange around sort of the area next to these spruce parts, and then the middle bit was made out of yellow. And this creates this really nice colour that's pretty similar to the one on the glowberries, as you can see here, and I think it looks really cool. So we've got these balconies around the edges using the oak trapdoors as a sort of fence, which works really well if you don't have enough room for actual fences. And, you know, I think it's just a really nice little build. So obviously you're going to have to add in a lot of light sources to make it look that bright. I used the new light block added in the last update to make it look like this, but I think it's really cool. So yeah, there's obviously a lot you can do with this, adding different colours for different things, but I think it's a really promising idea. For our fourth build, we have this deep slate castle on the lava lake, and this is a very simple build and could definitely be expanded. As you can see, we don't really have that much room in this lava lake to work with, but if you were to do this in the nether or just find a larger lava lake, then this would work really well. So this is just a small, you know, like classic cartoony deep slate castle, and I think it works really well. It doesn't actually have to connect to the floor, which means all you have to do is pillar out from here and then just build it in the middle of the lava lake, and it can look really cool, and it's obviously really well protected from mobs and such like. It's got some pretty interesting details that really make it stand out. So as you can see from looking at this build, it's got that's just tragic, isn't it? As you can see, it's got a small layer of black stone at the bottom, which just makes the bottom of it look charred and also helps to separate it from the lava. So as you can see, without that it would look nowhere near as interesting, and would also just go right into the lava. But with this, it looks like it's been charred at the bottom from the lava going up and down. We've got this very simple window design. So for this, all you need to do is put an upside down stair and a normal stair on top of each other, but sort of sideways to the wall, so it creates this very little slab-sized gap that really makes a nice little window and means that it's not that big, but you can still see pretty well through it. So as we can see, we've got a nice area up here that you can look around at the darkness, and it's very useful. These towers are too small to really do anything, so they're only sort of like a 2 by 2 square circle, but they look really cool. So obviously on the inside here we've got quite a bit of room. I've used deep slate coal ore to make it the transition a bit better from the like black stone at the bottom to this more deep slate block, but it doesn't really work that well, and obviously, you know, there's quite a lot of it here, and deep slate coal is really rare, so it wouldn't work that well. But as you can see, we've got a nice little area here. It could probably make quite a good prison if you're on sort of like a server where you're doing that sort of thing, and I think it looks really nice. And obviously just the torches make a really nice simple design just to light this place up. And obviously, you know, there's not really much to it. It's a pretty simple build, but still one that would look really good in most contexts. And for our final build, we've got this really cool little dark canal boat. I think this is probably my favourite out of all of them, to be honest, because I think this is really interesting and is really something that you wouldn't normally expect to find in a cave, but really fits. It was kind of inspired by, I don't know how many of you are LEGO fans, but it's inspired by the Ninjago Moro theme, I think it was called. So there were these sort of like green and blue ghosts that were sort of flying around, and it sort of fits with that, and also matches the glow squids, and I think it's just a really nice little colour scheme. So as you can see, it's a really simple build. It uses a lot of darker blocks, but has this blue highlight that really makes it stand out. So going under the water, as you can see, it's just a simple boat. I originally had it 1 block further out, but I decided that it would look better when it was a little bit deeper in the water, because it just looks a lot more like it's really in the water and sort of fits a lot better. So if you're ever building a boat, then make sure you get it the right distance in the water. I've made the mistake a few times of having the boat like the bottom of the boat, so which would be like this bit here, be on the water layer, and that makes the boat look really ridiculous. So you want to have it under the water and partly submerged. So I'm not an expert in boats, but as you can see, we've got this layer that sort of separates from the bottom of the dark oak wood, and that just looks really cool. Again, we've got this sort of little hut thing here that uses spruce wood as the walls, and we've got some barrels as the base, and I think they look really nice. I really like how these sort of create a pattern anyway, and are obviously usable. Obviously it's pretty small in here, so you could probably expand it if you wanted to. Some secret hidden lighting, and it's just a really nice little build. We're using a lot of like soulfire torches to make it light up, and also looks kind of ghostly, and I think it looks, you know, it matches with the colour of the glow squid, and will also match with the sort of colours of the warden and the deep dark. We've also used some sort of spruce leaves. I'd recommend using leaves, obviously depending on the biome, but also sort of what vibe they have, and to help that mix in with the build you're actually making. So we've also mixed in some copper with the warped wood, and I think this does like a really good job of mixing it up and making it look like the boat is kind of patchy and has been sort of like fixed over time with different materials, and you know, it's just a really cool little build. So that's the last build that we're going to be covering today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm really happy with a lot of these designs, and obviously they're all inspiration, but if you want a block for block tutorial on any of these builds, then just let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll hopefully do more videos like this when more updates come out. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you later. So bye.